A lot of these platforms, they've been holding me back from really going in and exposing what I really want to expose.
Was then removed against his will by guards from the prison and was not allowed to be treated. And they are saying that basically this could kill him because of the blood clots and the care that they are alleging he is not receiving.
That's R. Kelly's old cellmate spilling everything, and what he's saying is wild. If you didn't already know, R. Kelly's been dealing with some real heat behind bars. We've got the full scoop, and it's messier than anyone expected. Big names are tangled in this. Let's break it down. Inside prison, it's survival of the fittest. And R. Kelly, he's been fighting for his life. What's been happening to him was all hush-hush until now. In June 2025, things blew wide open when his legal squad, led by attorney Bo Brinley, dropped a bombshell in Chicago's federal court. They filed a motion calling for Kelly's immediate release to home detention, and the claims in it were next level insane. They said not only were prison officials in on it, but members of the Aryan Brotherhood were allegedly plotting to take him out. But this wasn't just lawyers talking crazy to get their guy a break. This motion came with a sworn statement from someone who says they knew about the hit firsthand.
People who seek to kill Mr. Kelly rather than allow the corrupt criminal conduct of those who manufactured his convictions be exposed.
According to them, there was a real plan to end Kelly inside. The center of this wild story, a man named Mike Glenn Stein, a terminally ill inmate who says he's a shot caller in the Aryan Brotherhood. And what he's claiming in his sworn statement is straight up insane. Stein says 3 officials from the Bureau of Prisons at the Federal Correctional Institution in Butner, North Carolina, came to him with a deadly offer. Take out R. Kelly, and they'd give him his freedom. Yeah, that's serious. Kelly's lawyer, Bo Brinley, says the motive behind the hit was that Kelly supposedly had info that could blow up both the Bureau of Prisons and the Department of Justice.
Mr. Stein, in his declaration, has set forth the reason that was given. The reason is that Mr. Kelly was about to expose some facts that would be extremely inflammatory and damaging to the Bureau of Prisons and the Department of Justice. And because of that, the Bureau of Prisons instructed Michael Glenn Stein to go to Butner and execute R. Kelly. And Mr. Stein made clear.
The feds allegedly believed he was about to spill something major, so their fix: make sure he doesn't live long enough to talk. But it gets even crazier. Stein claims they didn't just offer vague promises. They gave him a very specific deal. Since he's dying of cancer, they allegedly told him he'd be moved to a new facility and basically set up to escape so he could die as a so-called free man. A so-called free man instead of dying behind bars. That's what they allegedly promised Stein. And here's the kicker. Stein had already escaped from Bureau of Prisons facilities before and even did time at the infamous ADX Supermax in Florence.
And gave us extraordinary detail when we spoke to Mr. Stein. We didn't use this until we actually went down and met with Mr. Stein for hours. And he told us in extraordinary detail that this is not the first instance, that this happens all the time, that the Aryan Brotherhood has been directed to commit murders and beatings at the behest of prison officials for years.
So yeah, the whole escape setup actually sounded real. But then, plot twist, Stein says he backed out. Instead of going through with the hit, he claims he had a sudden change of heart. He allegedly showed up in Kelly's prison unit in March 2025, ready to follow orders. But instead of doing the deed, he warned Kelly about the whole plan. According to Kelly's lawyer, Stein came clean, telling him this kind of setup wasn't even rare. He said it's normal business for prison officials to send gang members like the Aryan Brotherhood to do their dirty work, murder, beatdowns, whatever they want. If Stein's telling the truth, this isn't just about R. Kelly. It's about a dirty system that's been running on the low for years. The kind of corruption he's describing could shake the whole prison system to its core. And just when you think it couldn't get any darker, Kelly's legal team dropped another bomb. In June 2025, they found out about another Aryan Brotherhood member who was allegedly told by prison officials to kill both Kelly and Stein. The alleged hit wasn't just talk. They had real methods lined up. According to court docs, the plan was to either poison R. Kelly's food in the chow hall or commissary, or take him out with a shank. Yeah, it was that serious. After his legal team filed the emergency motion, things allegedly got even worse for Kelly. He was thrown into solitary confinement at FCI Butner, and his lawyers say he's being kept in disgusting, infested conditions with zero contact with his family. His team says this ain't about safety. It's straight up retaliation for blowing the whistle on the murder plot. Kelly's reportedly terrified to eat prison meals or even touch anything from the commissary. He thinks they're trying to poison him. But that's just the beginning of what his team is calling a massive conspiracy.
That if he is to do this, he is a terminal cancer patient. He's going to die in the near future. That's a fact. And they have said that he will be transferred and he'll get the opportunity to walk away. And Michael Glenn Stein has a history.
They claim this entire case against Kelly is built on dirty moves, like violating his constitutional rights and straight up prosecutorial misconduct. One of the most shocking claims, Kelly's former cellmate, Keyshawn Moda Moody, says he was recruited by prosecutors to spy on Kelly. Moda signed a declaration saying prison guards helped him steal confidential legal documents, and those stolen files were copied by a Bureau of Prisons investigator and used during Kelly's trial. If any of this checks out, it could blow the whole case apart. It would be a major violation of R. Kelly's constitutional rights. We're talking enough to possibly get his entire conviction tossed. But federal prosecutors, they're not buying it. On June 16th, 2025, prosecutors hit back hard. They called the murder plot claims fanciful and deeply unserious, straight up brushing it off like some wild fantasy. They doubled down, labeling Kelly a serial and unrepentant child molester, and said his story is just a disrespectful distraction from the pain his victims suffered.
Of escaping from the Bureau of Prisons. He escaped previously. That's why he spent so long at the ADX Supermax in Florence. And all of a sudden, he was moved to this relatively low security facility at Butner and put near R. Kelly. That's a fact.
Prosecutors also tried to flip the script, saying Kelly's being in solitary confinement proves the prison is actually taking his safety seriously, not trying to get him hurt. Basically, they're calling his entire story a joke. But that just shows how bad things are getting for Kelly, because now his legal team is reaching all the way to the top. So far, no pardon has been granted, but Kelly's legal team is still pushing. And this whole situation has sparked some big debates, especially around how powerful black men are treated in the system. His ex-cellmate Ronnie Bo says Kelly's case isn't just about him. It's part of a bigger pattern. He's drawing lines between what's happening to Kelly and other high-profile takedowns. Even with all the murder plot claims and legal noise, Kelly's fight in the courtroom hasn't been winning.
About what they doing to all blacks in America. They violating the out of our human rights. R. Kelly case too. They violating that man human rights. Larry Hoover. Like, they violating his human rights. He got another vote.
On February 12th, 2025, the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals upheld his conviction and 30-year sentence. The court shot down arguments about shady jurors and the questionable use of racketeering laws, saying nope, they weren't buying it. His attorney, Jennifer Bongine, isn't done yet, though. She's planning to take it up with the U.S. Supreme Court, arguing that the prosecutors went way too far with their tactics. But the odds are tough. The Supreme Court already refused to hear his Chicago appeal back in October 2024. Still, even with all the legal hits and alleged death threats, Kelly's been keeping busy behind bars. In a March 2025 prison podcast interview with another inmate named T8ANDP, Kelly claimed he's written 25 new albums while locked up. Here's where things take a dark and totally unexpected turn. According to fresh court docs, R. Kelly had a scary medical emergency while locked up.
So in the emergency filing, they alleged that R. Kelly was giving an additional dose of medication by prison staff. And they're alleging that because of that additional medication that he was instructed to take and that he actually took, he suffered a overdose. So they say that R. Kelly woke up allegedly on June 13th and he felt faint. He was dizzy. He started to see black spots. He got up and he fell. He crawled to the door of the cell and he lost consciousness then. At that point, he was placed on a gurney. He was taken by ambulance to a nearby hospital because they tried to take him to the hospital inside of or associated with the facility that he's in.
And his legal team says it wasn't some random health scare. They're claiming it happened because prison staff gave him the wrong meds. Yeah, you heard that right. And it's not just one incident. His health is reportedly going downhill fast. Kelly's been battling diabetes and has dealt with serious issues like blood clots in his legs. He even said one of those clots almost ended his life. This ain't just stress. It's life or death now. But it's what's coming from inside those prison walls that's really about to flip the script. A former bunkie of Kelly is speaking out. And what he's saying, it's nuclear. This dude's not just gossiping. He's spilling straight up industry secrets and talking about stuff that could rattle the whole music game.
R. Kelly allegedly has been asking for months to get some medical attention to a swollen leg. R. Kelly's legal team says that once he was taken to the hospital for this overdose situation, R. Kelly brought up the swollen leg, and they allege that doctors there then took a look at the swollen leg and they found blood clots in R. Kelly's right leg, allegedly, in his left leg, and his lungs, allegedly.
According to him, what's happening to Kelly isn't just legal drama. It's about what goes down when someone knows too much and starts becoming a threat to some real powerful people. A lot of the jaw-dropping claims you're about to hear come straight from a man named Ronnie Bo, a former federal inmate who did serious time alongside R. Kelly. Since then, he's written a whole book based on their convos behind bars. But before we dive in, let's be clear. These are allegations and personal accounts that paint a wild picture of corruption and power moves happening way above our heads. Some of what Bo says is disputed. Some can't be verified. But every single piece deserves to be heard because it pulls the curtain back on a system that just might be way more crooked than we ever thought. Ronnie Bo, real name Ronnie Bo Williams, isn't just any former inmate. He calls himself an author and the CEO of Grind Mode Inc. But what really makes him a key player in this story? He spent a whole lot of time locked up with R. Kelly at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Chicago. And according to Bo, those cell block conversations weren't just small talk. He claims Kelly shared some straight up bombshells about the music industry. Now, here's where it really starts heating up. Ronnie Bo says he was the one who got R. Kelly moved out of protective custody and into general population, and that's a major move. According to Bo, he had already built strong ties with the shot callers from major prison crews, the Gangster Disciples, Latin Kings, Blackstones, and they all gave the green light. They agreed that Kelly could be in Gen Pop and made sure he was protected. That means some of the most powerful guys inside the federal system were watching Kelly's back.
We was never roommates. We was on the same unit for a period of time, but I was there. I came there in MCC Chicago, June 24th, 2019. And I think he came either in July or August. It was like a month or two, no longer than 3 months after.
Serious muscle. But what's even crazier is what Bo says Kelly shared with him once they started talking. And we're not talking about regular prison small talk. This was deep stuff. Allegations of music industry conspiracies, stolen catalogs, and how some very powerful figures were out to crush him. One of the wildest claims, Bo says Kelly discovered that his music catalog was worth a mind-blowing $1.2 billion. Yeah, with a B. That would have technically made him richer than JayZ at the time. But here's the part that makes no sense. Despite that insane value, Kelly was still out here grinding, forced to stay on tour nonstop just to keep the lights on. Yep, Kelly had to keep doing shows and touring just to survive. And that's wild. Because if his music catalog was really worth over $1 billion, how was he living check to check? It raises major questions. Who was controlling his money? And how did someone with that kind of catalog end up broke? According to Bo's version, the moment Kelly started asking questions, tracing where the money went, digging into royalties, trying to reclaim what was his, that's when the legal heat started cranking up.
And R. Kelly's legal team is saying that R. Kelly was then told he should stay 7 days in that hospital for surgery, and then it would be an additional 2 weeks because of whatever care they were going to need to give him. But his legal team alleges that once the prison was contacted, R. Kelly was then removed against his will by guards from the prison and was not allowed to be treated. And they are saying that basically this could kill him because of the blood clots and the care that they are alleging he is not receiving.
He says that's when the real pressure came down. But the most explosive stuff, it involves JayZ. Bo claims that behind all the courtroom drama and media headlines, there was deep-rooted beef between Kelly and Hobb that never really got told. According to Bo's convos with Kelly, the Best of Both Worlds collab was originally supposed to be with Tupac, but when Pac was killed, JayZ stepped in and took that spot. Bo says JayZ saw that collab as his moment to level himself up with legends like Biggie and Pac. But once the joint project dropped, things didn't go the way Hav planned. According to Bo's version of what Kelly told him, things got dangerous way before the headlines. Kelly was getting death threats leading up to the Madison Square Garden show. And when he finally hit the stage, he says he saw dudes in the crowd throwing up threatening gestures. Kelly was convinced that JayZ was behind it. Spooked and not trying to get caught slipping, Kelly dipped off stage. That's when, according to the story, JayZ's crew hit him with pepper spray right in the middle of all the chaos. But it goes even deeper. Bo claims Kelly believed that JayZ also had a hand in funding the surviving R. Kelly documentary through his ex, Dream Hampton, who just so happened to be the executive producer. If that's real, we're talking about one of the most powerful players in the industry putting money behind a documentary meant to wipe Kelly out completely. Career, reputation, everything. And JayZ isn't the only one Bo puts on blast.
Interviews, you said that you asked R. Kelly, or he told you, either one, that it was $1.2 billion, that he found out that his catalog was worth $1.2 billion. And once he started trying to figure out how he can get, the payments for that or whatever, that's when he said things kind of turned up on him.
He says the industry runs like a machine, and if you don't play by their rules, they blacklist you fast. Bo even says he got shut out himself. When he tried to land an interview with The Breakfast Club, he claims they told him straight up, "iHeart won't let us do it because of the publicity around your name." Bo suggests that heavyweights like JayZ have the pull to get artists blacklisted, cutting them off from mainstream radio, interviews, and exposure. According to him, this ain't just about talent anymore, it's about playing the game. If you don't show loyalty to certain people or follow certain rules, you don't just get ignored, you get buried. And while R. Kelly was locked up, he wasn't just dealing with legal pressure, he was facing real physical danger too. Back in 2020, while held at Chicago's Metropolitan Correctional Center, Kelly got jumped by another inmate. The guy who attacked him was Jeremiah Shane Farmer, a known Latin Kings member doing a life sentence. But Bo says that wasn't just some random prison brawl. According to him, the whole thing had deeper roots. At the time, Kelly's fans had been protesting outside the prison for 3 straight days, demanding justice and drawing attention. Those protests led to lockdowns inside, which meant inmates couldn't use phones or get their usual perks. That sparked serious tension inside, and a bunch of inmates blamed Kelly for the lockdowns. But here's the twist. Bo points out that Farmer later claimed in media interviews that the government told him to do it. If that's true, this wasn't just inmate beef. It could have been a setup from the top. Bo ain't just talking, he's put it on paper and taken it to court. He wrote a whole book on his time inside and even filed lawsuits against federal agents.
So it's like, man, let's get, and I hollered at everybody, let's get Kels up here. So they sent the word to him, and Kels from there, he petitioned, he asked his lawyer, like, man, put that paperwork in and get me up out this. I want to go on general popular.
In one case, he sued DEA agent Timothy P. Gray and actually won a settlement. That adds weight to his story. He's not just another ex-con with a grudge. He's someone who's already fought the feds and came out on top. Bo also paints a picture of R. Kelly as someone who stood on his principles, even when it would have been easier to play along. He claims Kelly told him straight up, "I can't get down like that, homie." According to Bo, Kelly refused advances from powerful industry players, including Quincy Jones, and that decision might have cost him big. In an industry where selling out is often expected, Kelly's refusal to play the game may have made him powerful enemies. The story Bo tells paints a dirty picture, an entertainment world built on corruption, blackmail, financial control, and when needed, legal takedowns. If what Bo says is legit, we're only seeing the surface. The bigger question ain't just what happened to R. Kelly while locked up. It's whether he's just one example of a system that goes after anyone who knows too much and refuses to stay quiet. Because to understand why Kelly became such a major target in courtrooms, in the media, and even behind prison walls, we gotta go back. Let's keep it real. If we're gonna understand what's happening to R. Kelly behind bars, we have to rewind and look at how all this drama really kicked off. These accusations, they didn't just pop up overnight. The smoke started rising way back in 1994. At the time, Kelly was 27, and that's when he secretly married 15-year-old Aaliyah in a hush-hush ceremony out in Chicago. Yeah, super shady. To make it happen, somebody faked her ID to make her look 18.
And is the executive producer of Surviving R. Kelly. You know, that's her project, and that's Jay-Z ex-girlfriend, and you know, he funded mostly all of her projects, if not all.
But when her parents found out, they weren't having it. They got the whole thing annulled by 1995. Later on, it came out in court that somebody from Kelly's crew allegedly dropped $500 to score that fake ID. Some say it was because they suspected Aaliyah might have been pregnant. That's when things really started getting dark. But that wasn't even the full story. It was just the start. As the late 90s rolled into the early 2000s, more and more women started stepping up with serious accusations. Names like Tiffany Hawkins, Tracy Sampson, and others began claiming that Kelly had been involved in inappropriate behavior with minors. The pattern was loud and clear, but R. Kelly's fame and fortune acted like armor, keeping him safe from real consequences for years. The first time the law seriously tried to touch him was in 2002, when he got slapped with 21 counts of child pornography. Why? A disturbing video had surfaced showing him doing things that were beyond inappropriate with a girl who looked around 14 years old. Now, with footage like that, you'd think it was game over, right? Not even close. In 2008, Kelly walked free, beat all 21 charges. The alleged victim and her fam didn't testify, and the jury said they couldn't be sure the girl in the tape was underage. Just like that, he skated.
So you know, with that not happening, of course, because Pac ended up passing away, did R. Kelly go into detail on how him and Jay ended up working together and doing the best of both worlds?
You asked that at the perfect time, because that's kind of where this come from. Like, see, Jay-Z, he knew that Pac and R. Kelly was supposed to do best of both worlds together.
After that, Kelly moved like he was bulletproof, still dropping tracks, still selling out tours, still living like nothing could touch him. But while he was shining in the spotlight, investigative reporters like Jim DeRogatis were behind the scenes gathering receipts, building the case that would eventually bring it all crashing down. Then came 2017, and everything flipped. BuzzFeed dropped a bombshell report that had the whole world talking. The article claimed Kelly was running what looked like a cult, keeping women locked away and controlling every part of their lives. That's when the number Mute R. Kelly movement started catching fire. People were demanding boycotts of his music, calling for radio stations to stop spinning his tracks and canceling his shows. But the real knockout punch, that hit in 2019 with Lifetime's Surviving R. Kelly documentary. And that doc, it changed everything. It featured a lineup of women, including Kelly's ex-wife, Andrea, and others like Javante Cunningham and Johanna Pace, who came forward with raw, emotional stories about the physical, emotional, and mental abuse they said they endured. The impact was massive. That documentary hit so hard, even RCA Records, his longtime label, dropped him. Major artists like Lady Gaga and Celine Dion started pulling their collabs with him off streaming platforms. Within months, the pressure exploded. The walls started caving in fast. By February 2019, Cook County came in swinging, hitting Kelly with 10 counts of aggravated criminal abuse involving 4 women, 3 of them minors between 13 and 16. But that was just the warm-up. In July 2019,
I feel like R. Kelly was eventually blacklisted. I feel like I'm blacklisted. I feel like there's many other artists who probably got way more talent than most of the artists we hear in the industry that is blacklisted.
the feds showed up with the real firepower, an 18-count federal indictment. Charges included child exploitation, trafficking, kidnapping, forced labor, racketeering, and obstruction of justice. The feds weren't playing. They arrested Kelly and held him without bail, calling him a flight risk and a danger to the community. The federal trials, absolutely devastating. In September 2021, after a 6-week showdown in Brooklyn, a federal jury found R. Kelly guilty on all 9 counts, including 1 racketeering charge and 8 Mann Act violations. The prosecution didn't hold back. They painted Kelly as the head of a full-blown criminal enterprise that operated for nearly 30 years. They said this wasn't just one man acting alone. Kelly had managers, bodyguards, and assistants, all helping him recruit and abuse young girls, boys, and women. 11 victims, including Aaliyah, took the stand and told their stories. Most of them said the abuse started when they were still minors. The courtroom heard chilling details, how Kelly forced his victims to call him daddy, controlled their every move, and made sure they couldn't even look at other men. If someone stepped out of line, they got beat, humiliated, or forced to do things on camera. Stuff no one should ever be put through. Then came June 29th, 2022. Judge Ann Donnelly wasn't playing. She sentenced Kelly to 30 years behind bars, calling out his violence, cruelty, and control. She said he used his fame and power to prey on the most vulnerable, turning his celebrity into a weapon. 7 survivors stood up in court and told it all, how R. Kelly ruined their lives. They spoke their truth, raw and real, while Kelly sat there like a statue, showing no remorse whatsoever. But that courtroom moment wasn't the end of the road. In September 2022, a federal jury in Chicago found him guilty on 6 out of 13 charges, 3 counts of making child pornography and 3 counts of enticing minors. This was just another chapter in a string of convictions that kept stacking against him. Then, in February 2023, Judge Harry Leinenweber handed him 20 more years. 19 of those years would run at the same time as his New York sentence, but that one extra year pushed the total to 31 years behind bars. The same man who once ruled the charts, toured the globe, and lived in luxury is now in a whole different kind of spotlight. And this one's cold. Now he's surrounded by federal agents, white supremacist gangs, and whispers of powerful industry players, all allegedly keeping eyes on him, all with one goal: make sure he stays silent forever. As of the most recent reports, R. Kelly is still locked away in solitary confinement at FCY Butner Medium Y in North Carolina. His emergency motion still hanging in limbo, no resolution yet. A hearing was supposed to go down on June 20th, 2025, with U.S. District Judge Martha Ohl presiding. But now the court's stuck debating whether Chicago even has the authority to handle Kelly's claims, since he's doing time out in North Carolina. Kelly ain't expected to be released until December 2045, and by then, he'll be 78 years old. That's if he even makes it. With all the serious talk of death threats, dirty meds, and his failing health, that's a very real question. What still lingers is the biggest question of them all. Will the full truth about what really happened behind those prison walls ever come out? With alleged threats from federal agents, white supremacist gangs, and industry big dogs, some folks believe Kelly's being kept quiet on purpose, and if he never gets the chance to speak freely, those secrets, they might die with him. Yeah, the so-called king of R&B may have lost his crown, but the fallout from his fall, it's still shaking up rooms in high places and might keep echoing through the industry and government for years to come. Because this ain't just about one man's fall from grace. It's about a system that allegedly crushes anyone who knows too much, especially when the streets start crossing paths with the highest levels of power. Like this video, hit that like, share, and subscribe, and check out what else is shaking in our hood next. You won't want to miss what's coming.